Hi, I'm Nicole Slowey. I'm the Operations Director here at Qdos, and in this video today I'm going to be giving you a bit of a rundown of our annual survey. I'll be specifically looking at the contributions made by our contractors and wider self-employed workers. Each year we look to engage with our customers across our entire portfolio. We want to understand what they faced in the year that's just gone by in terms of any challenges, opportunities, positive outcomes that they may have seen throughout that year, as well as get a sense of what they expect to see going into the new year. So much of our report looks at what has gone by in 2023 and what's yet to come in 2024. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of the respondents to our survey. We had a substantially increased survey base this year with over 900 contractors and self-employed individuals actually contributing to the study. So in terms of where to start, let's have a look at the IR35 reform section. Now, we wanted to understand from contractors and those individual self-employed people how the effects of IR35 reform were still having an impact to them, even a couple of years after reform had been introduced. Now, what I'm excited to report and what's really positive is that nearly 75% of contractors said that in 2023 they were able to secure a role outside of IR35. And furthermore, at the point in which we engaged our survey back in November of 2023, 60% of the survey respondents were currently engaged outside of IR35 roles. In terms of what those stats tell us, it's really encouraging to see that there are organisations out there who are considering approaching their IR35 compliance pragmatically, and that there are contractors able to secure outside of IR35 roles, and that client organisations are really taking that approach to compliance in a way that still allows for contractors to be engaged on a genuine outside of IR35 basis. Now, that's not to say that those roles were easy to come by. Over half of contractors said that they experienced challenges in securing outside of IR35 roles. So it's clear that a little bit more work was required in order to find those roles, which would have been difficult in the climate where there is a continuation of a challenging financial landscape. There perhaps are less roles available, and the difficulties that contractors might face more generally in securing positions that are specific to their skill set. Looking at how that compared to our 2022 survey, where we saw 80% of contractors saying that they secured outside of IR35 roles, it does suggest that there is perhaps a more negative picture to paint. However, this year we actually took a much larger sample, and as such our base has actually increased. So we've been able to engage with more contractors in really understanding. So we've seen a bit of a proportionate decrease of around just under 5% in terms of contractors who have been able to obtain roles on an outside of IR35 basis. Moving on to business performance, it was important for us to really establish an understanding of how contractors and self-employed workers viewed their business performance in 2023. Now, positively, 48% of contractors saw that they had consistent performance throughout the year, with an additional 30% suggesting that they had actually very good performance in 2023. Now, it's great to see that that proportion of contractors did have a positive outcome to the year that's just gone past from a business perspective. But not everyone had that experience. There was a reasonable proportion of customers that actually said that they had suffered poor performance in 2023. Now, the biggest contributors to what was influencing that poor performance, that was IR35 reform and the continuation of the financial crisis and the financial landscape that individuals are suffering from. When asked about their outlook on business performance in 2024, more than 58% of contractors said that they were either fairly or very confident around their business performance. So it's good to see that there is a positive perspective for such a large proportion of workers in this space. Now, that's not to say that everyone has that same view, and of those individuals who were thinking about what challenges might present themselves to them in 2024, again, this followed a lot of the themes from 2023. So IR35 reform was seen as one of the biggest threats to their potential business performance in 2024, as was the ongoing financial crisis and potential threat of recession. And not surprisingly, also the budget that we're expecting to see in March of this year, where individuals are concerned about what legislative and tax changes could be introduced that would affect them and their business in the year ahead. Now, more concerningly, a fifth of respondents actually suggested to us that they were considering leaving self-employment in 2024. They didn't necessarily suggest when or how they would specifically exit, but it's something for HMRC, the government and policymakers to really consider, that almost 25% of workers are actually thinking about exiting the flexible economy in the year ahead. Looking then about how individuals secured work in 2023. Now, we saw a consistent number of customers actually staying with their existing clients. In fact, that was actually more than half of customers had maintained the same client from 2022 into 2023. In terms of where other contractors actually found work if they didn't stay with their clients in the year that's gone by, over 43% got new clients through referrals, 21% obtained new clients through using a recruitment agency, and 18% of respondents told us that they actually use LinkedIn as a means to win their new clients. We asked our customers if their earnings changed in 2023 compared to 2022. Over 40% of customers told us that their earnings had remained stable. 32% of customers told us that their earnings had increased. And rather concerningly, 25% of customers actually told us that their earnings had decreased. Of those customers who said that they had suffered a decrease in earnings, a quarter of them said that they lost up to 25% of their earnings. A further 29% of those individuals questioned suggested that they lost somewhere between 25 to 50% of their earnings. Now, in the context of the current financial climate, that would actually have presented quite a lot of financial challenge to those individuals. And we've seen a number of different changes in the marketplace around rates, and where there are some roles where we are seeing rates increasing, and then in other places we're actually seeing clients have to consider their position and look at where they could potentially reduce rates. Now, one important area we also need to consider is the use of umbrella companies for contractors. Now, as we know, the use of umbrella companies has increased substantially over the last couple of years following the introduction of IR35 reform into the private sector. A point of note is that last year the government actually opened a consultation into the use of umbrella companies in considering the future use of umbrella companies and overarching regulation of the sector, because at the minute, as we know, it's an unregulated sector that could present a lot of risks for the entire supply chain, whether that be the individual workers, the recruitment agencies working alongside them, and or the end hiring organisations. Now, that's not to say that there aren't compliant umbrella companies out there and that contractors can compliantly operate via an umbrella company whilst achieving all of the rights that they would like to via becoming an employee of that umbrella company. Over a quarter of respondents told us that in 2023 they were engaged via an umbrella company. Now, unsurprisingly, 90% of those individuals told us the reason that they went via an umbrella company was because it was a requirement of the recruitment agency and or their end hirer. Now, that type of behaviour is something that we've become accustomed to as a result of the outcome of IR35 reform and organisations making the decision to not have outside IR35 contractors either across the board in their organisation or even on a case-by-case determination basis. It'll be interesting to see what the outcome of the umbrella consultation is, when we can expect to see changes, and ultimately how we might see that actually change some of the umbrella information that we get in 2024's survey. When looking at our annual survey as a whole, we can see that 2023 presented a handful of challenges for contractors as well as a number of opportunities. We expect to see the same themes coming into 2024, where IR35 reform and the hangover from that remains and how that impacts workers. We also have the ongoing financial situation in the UK and the continuous threat of a recession, as well as also the prospect of a general election in 2024. Now, if you would like to see the full results of our annual survey, you can go to our website and download a copy of the report, and there will also be a link below for you to be able to download the report there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates from Qdos in respect of contractors and the wider self-employed workforce.